Hello, and welcome to my kitchen here at Trails N62. Today I'm going to be doing another canning procedure, kind of like the tamales that I made. Because it's not exactly a meal in a jar kind of thing, but it's making the product that you need in order to make the end result, if that makes any kind of sense. So like we did tamales, we did the cold sauce, we did the seasoned meat, we canned the meat, we canned the cold sauce. So then when we made the tamales, all we had to do was mix it with the maseca, the corn flour, and make the tortillas, and then steam it, put it together and steam it. So the making of the cold sauce and the making of the meat, seasoning the meat, cooking the meat, and all that is very time consuming, so we cut down on the time. This is the same thing. These are Birria Tacos. And to do that, we've got a consommé sauce that the meat is put in, that the tortillas are put in before they're fried, and used for a dipping sauce afterwards. And so that's what we're going to do, the meat and the consommé. First we do the consommé because we need that sauce in order to can the meat, because the meat will be, some of that sauce will be put into the meat to be soaked into it a little bit, but we'll get to that later. First, it's the consommé. The consommé sauce, we're going to be doing this in pints. We'll be doing the meat also in pints because that's how we will eat it for the two of us. And it should make, I'm guessing, because we did the meat similar to this for the tamales and it made 8 tamales, I'm thinking probably this will make 8 Birria Tacos. Our ingredients for our consommé: we're going to put them in a pot, heat them up, and cook them for a little bit so everything blends together, and then we're going to put it in a blender, or you can use a pulse stick or something like that, but to blend it up real good, mix it all up together really good. What do we have in it? We're going to start with these. These are chili guajillo, and I got them in a package like this. This is a 3-ounce package, and there's about 12 chilies in here, which is what we use for this particular recipe. I'm not exactly sure how many pints this will make, because like I said, we'll be using some of this on our meat. We'll just see what we have left. But for this recipe, I'm using 12 guajillo chilies. Now, some people say these are hot. I tasted it, it didn't taste hot to me. So they say if it's too hot, take the seeds out of it before you put it in. They're dried, but they are kind of leathery. So you can take the seeds out of them if you think it's going to be too hot. I tasted it, I tasted the seeds. They didn't seem hot to me at all. Matter of fact, it was about almost a little sweet. But we'll be using 12 of these. Alright, we have our stock pot. We're going to put 12 of these in here. Now, they do have stems on them, and I thought about cutting those off before I put them in there, but they say you can cut those off before you condense it all up, grind it all up, blend it all up, so it'll be softer that way. So I'm just going to put them in here whole, and then we'll take the stems off before we blend it all together. Next, we add 15 to 18 chipotle peppers in adobe sauce. Now they come in little cans like this in adobe sauce. This is a 7-ounce can. It says there's 7 servings, 2 pieces per serving, so there should be 12 in here. I think my first can only had like 10 in it. But I might have miscounted. They might have been chopped up a little bit in the adobe. But so 12 of these adobe or chipotle peppers in adobe sauce, and so you'll need probably about 2 of these cans here, and there'll be some left over, which will be real good for making some black beans and chipotle sauce. So we're going to put these in. And these are hot. So, just a little bit of caution there. It says 15 to 18. If they're going to be too hot for you, you might go with 15. Alright, you might even go with 12 and just use one can. It's strictly up to you. But they are hot. Of course, the whole thing needs to be spiced a little bit anyway. Alright, next we have 3 small red onions, thinly sliced, but like I said, you're going to take all of these and blend them up real good anyway. And so I cut mine up. I didn't slice them, I just diced them. So the 3 small red onions came out to be 4 cups of diced onions. And they're red onions. They have different flavor. Onions, white onions, yellow onions, red onions, they have different flavors. Red onions for these. Then you got garlic, and the recipe calls for 24 whole garlic cloves. So 24 cloves smashed and put in there, and that figures out and translates into about 1/4 cup of minced garlic, and I use minced garlic for pretty much everything that says garlic. So 1/4 cup of minced garlic. Next we have 96 ounces of beef stock. Well, if you use these little cartons, those are 32 ounces. So 96 ounces will be 3 of these, or 3 quarts of beef stock. Following that, we have 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. Next, we have 3 14.5-ounce cans of fire roasted diced tomatoes. I am using canned fire roasted diced tomatoes. You can do your own. You can fire roast your own. When I bought this, I started to do this, I didn't have enough tomatoes coming out of the garden yet. Now that I do, and I finally got around to doing this, but I had these already bought, so I'm going to use them. That will be about 5 cups of fire roasted diced tomatoes. Then we have 3/4 cup of organic apple cider vinegar. Three tablespoons of ground cumin. 3 tablespoons of dried Mexican oregano. Now you can use regular dried oregano if you want to, but you can get Mexican. There's a difference in oregano. There's different varieties. There's a little bit of different flavor in them, a little bit of different smell in them, a little different bit texture of the leaves and things, but there is a Mexican oregano, there's and other a regular type of oregano that you generally find, but you can use regular dried oregano. But I have some dried Mexican oregano, so it'll be 3 tablespoons of dried Mexican oregano. Three cinnamon sticks. 9 bay leaves. These are dried bay leaves. Now the cinnamon sticks and the bay leaves you will take out before you emulsify the whole thing. Three teaspoons of smoked paprika. 1.5 tablespoons of fresh grated ginger. Now again, if you don't have fresh ginger, you can use dried ginger. And 3 teaspoons of ground coriander. All right. Then what we're going to do, we mix this all together. Put on the heat. We're going to bring this to a boil. And then we're going to let it simmer for about 30 minutes. Okay, it's been 30 minutes. I've got it simmered good and it looks good, smells good. Now the next thing you need to do is you need to take out the cinnamon sticks, take out the bay leaves, and trim the stems off of your peppers if they haven't come out. As you can see, if I grab hold of the stem, it may just come loose. And if it doesn't come loose, I've got a pair of kitchen scissors here that I'll just take and take them out. So now we just sift through here and we find the cinnamon sticks, we find the bay leaves, and bring those out. It helps when you start doing your peppers. You know how many you got in there, count them as you take the stems out of them so you know that you got them all. Okay, so I need to let this cool, and while this is cooling a little bit, I'm going to be searing my meat. But I'm going to run this through a strainer here as I put it into another pot that's not hot because I want it to cool, and this will catch what bay leaves and what cinnamon sticks I haven't got yet. I'm going to kind of dip this and pour it through this strainer here. Checking for bay leaves, cinnamon sticks, and there was a couple of stems that came off in the cooking. Alright, the bay leaves are all out, stems are all out, cinnamon sticks are all out, and we're going to let this cool. And I'm going to sear the meat. Alright, now the next step is to liberally season your meat. It's been cut up. Edie cut it up for me here in strips. And we're going to put salt and pepper on it. This is ground pepper, it's not coarse ground pepper. Coarse ground pepper works better, but I'm using Himalayan rock salt. Now the amount of meat that you have is just kind of depends on how much meat that you have to make this, because that'll determine how many pints of meat you get out of it. I think I've got about 6 pounds here. It's a mock tender was what it was. Got it on sale down at my local store. Alright, got it all mixed up, salt, pepper, and now I'm going to put this on the stove and sear it on both sides, about 2 or 3 minutes on a side, just to sear the outer edge. Kind of helps it keep the shape. I'll put a little oil on there to help with the searing. It says to use a neutral oil, avocado oil or a neutral oil. A couple of tablespoons in there. Not being a real chef, I have no idea what a neutral oil is, so I just use canola oil because that's what I have. But anyway, gonna let that heat up, then we're gonna sear our meat. So we'll put our meat on to sear. Sear it anywhere from, I don't know, 2 to 3, 5 minutes per side. No more than 5 minutes, I would say. So the amount that you're going to sear the meat is going to, a lot of it's going to depend on how thick the meat is. So usually 2 or 3 minutes. I think I did my fajitas about 2 minutes on each side. That worked out pretty good. And you got to keep getting some oil to it because that'll help sear it. And I'll get these done, about finished. And then we'll emulsify our consommé. Alright, our meat's all seared. And I did maybe 3-4 minutes to start with on the first side, and then 2 minutes, probably 2 minutes on each side after that, once the skillet was good and hot. I should have let it get hotter first, but about 2 minutes on a side. You don't want to cook it all the way through. It depends on how thick you slice it and that sort of thing, because you want it to still be raw in the middle, so it'll pressure cook in the canner, and it'll still generate some juices. And then next we want to emulsify our consommé, and you can use like one of these. These are a stick emulsifier. You can use that in there, or you can use different things. I happen to have this, just bought it this year, this Ninja blender here to emulsify mine in. And I've already done some, as you can see here. This is what we got. Looks good, smells good. So I'll finish up emulsifying this. Then I'm going to pour it back into my pan, and I'm going to put my meat in it. I'll put it in the refrigerator and let it marinate overnight. Okay. Here we are back again. I put this in the refrigerator, put the meat in my birria sauce, my consommé, and put it in the refrigerator overnight to marinate. And now I'm heating it up because when I can it hot, because it'll can better when it's hot, go into the jars hot, quicker. But we're going to heat this up, stirring it not constantly, stirring it quite a bit because you want to keep it stirred, you don't want it to burn. But heating it up, we'll get it good and hot. Now, speaking of hot, spicy hot, I just want to say that this consommé was hot. And I've determined the chipotle peppers, the adobo sauce, made it hot. So if you want it less hot, here's some tips for that. Now, first of all, by putting the meat into it and marinating the meat into it overnight, that did take some of the heat out. And the other thing you can do is cut back on the number of chipotle peppers that you put in. You know, maybe just put 10 in. So, and that would be less than one can of what we used. Or you can take your chipotles and you can rinse off the adobo sauce from them and put them in. So, some people don't like it spicy, but I will tell you that the meat, marinating this overnight, the meat has taken some of the heat out of it. And if you want to, you can make, this is the thickness that I have of this sauce. Some people like it thinner. This will be the consommé, the dipping sauce, as well as frying the tortillas in. If you want it thinner, some people like it thinner, you can thin it out with some beef broth. You can do that either before you can it, or you can wait and do it after you can it when you heat it up. And that will also take some of the heat out of it. Alright, we're going to get this heated up, and then we're going to can up our meat. We'll can it first because we'll take it out of here. Alright, now we're putting our meat in our jars. And I'm packing it in there a little bit, but I'm not packing it in there real tight. Just kind of tamping it down a little bit. And as you can see, there's going to be some of the consommé with the meat, which is good because that'll can it with the meat, put that flavor into the meat. And so I'm just going to kind of tap it down in there. I'm letting it drain here. I'm not trying to get all of the consommé in the jar, so I drain it off first, let it drip off, then put it down into the jars, tamp it down, leaving an inch head space. Remember, your meat is not all the way cooked, so it is going to have some natural juices that are going to develop as it processes. So that's why we're not going to fill this up with the consommé. We're going to let what consommé gets in it, we'll let that just get there, and then the natural juices will put some more juice in it. Okay, looks like I'm going to get 7 pints. Now that's going to be about a pint per pound. So that's roughly what you can figure. If you figure a pint per pound of meat, then you'll give you an idea of how many pints you'll be able to get by whatever meat that you're using. Alright, now I'm going to wipe these off with vinegar. And after I wipe them off with vinegar, then I'm going to put my lids on and put them in my canners. So I'll run one canner with 3 and one canner with 4 and can these up. Meat time 75 minutes for pints. And let's wipe these with vinegar. Want your rims clean, otherwise your lids won't seal. Don't want anything on those rims. So we'll wipe it off with vinegar and then we'll dry it off. Now my initial thought was to add some of the consommé to this, maybe a quarter of a cup or so to the meat. It will generate some of its own meat because it's not all the way done, but I think there's plenty of consommé in there coating the meat, and also some that's drained off in the bottom of it. So I think that's going to be plenty. We'll get these capped and in the canner. Okay, I've got 3 pints in this canner and I've got 4 pints in my other canner. It's already started. Close her down, lock it down. Make sure my vent is set on exhaust. Then I'm going to put it on high. 75 minutes for pints. And there we go. Now this is my consommé that I have left. I'm not sure how many pints that will make, but we'll jar it up when the meat gets done, and we'll can our consommé. I'm figuring 1 pint of consommé for 1 pint of meat. We'll see how that goes when we finally eat it. Okay, the meat's done. We've got our birria meat. It all looked good. Nothing looked like it leaked out or anything. So we got 7 pints. Now we're going to heat up our consommé and we'll be canning it. Consommé in the pan, heating it up because we're going to can it hot. We'll put it in hot jars and we'll have it hot when we put it in the canners. Alright, now's the time to can up the birria consommé. And we do have the vinegar in it, so I'm not going to put any lime juice or lemon juice in here. I'm going to can this up by the pint. I'm going to leave an inch head space. Alright, looks like it made 9.5 pints. Perfect. Left an inch head space, wipe down the tops with vinegar. Cuts through the grease and everything. I always use vinegar. Some things you can use water on, but I have put vinegar in my canners anyway because of the hard water. So I just always use vinegar. I wipe them down, then I dry them off. Next comes the rings, finger type. And once my rings are on, they'll go in the canner. Now I will can these for 20 minutes for pints, kind of the same thing I do with my salsa, with my tomato sauce, with my pizza sauce, tomato based thing like this. So I'm going to do it for 20 minutes at my pressure, which is 15 pounds. You can it at pressure according to your elevation. If you're 1,000 feet elevation or under, you can do it at 10 pounds. If you're over 1,000 feet, then you do it at 15 pounds. I'm a little over 1,000 feet, so I always use 15 pounds of pressure. And I like to pressure can mine, and that way they, in my opinion, they do better, they last longer, and it's more safe. But that's just my opinion. You're free to disagree with it. Anyway, I'm going to put these in the canner, get them started, pressure can them for 20 minutes. So our birria taco meat looks good. Came out with 7 pints. They all sealed. Our birria taco consommé. We actually wound up with 9 pints of that. Of course, we can use that with our fajita meat. Since we don't have enough birria taco meat, we can always use it for our fajita meat. Works the same way. Alright. So we've got that done. We're going to test it out and try these and see how they taste. Wish you could be here for it, but you can't, so sorry about that. But anyway, that's it, and we're going to try those out and see how it tastes. Alright, birria tacos. I got my meat out. I'm heating it up a little bit. And then in addition to this, we're going to need some corn or flour tortillas. We're going to be using white corn tortillas because we're putting cheese on it. We're going to double those up. If you're not using cheese, then you don't have to double them up. But we're going to double them up because we're going to be putting cheese on it. We need to have the Oaxaca cheese, queso, or in what?
Oaxaca.
Oaxaca. Oaxaca. All right. And we're going to shred that up. We've got some cilantro. Well, it's shredded up, cut up some cilantro. And we have some diced white onions. And that's our preparation till we get ready to do it. Okay, so you want to put a little oil in your pan. We're just we're frying this. We're not deep frying it. We're just a little frying it. So we're going to put a little oil in the pan. Alright, then you're going to take your tacos. We double it up because we got cheese in it. And we're going to dip it in our consommé. Both sides. We're going to put it in our frying pan. Let it start frying. Then we add our ingredients. First to 1/2 of it, cheese. Then the meat. We're just putting this on 1/2 of it. Then we're going to put the onion and cilantro. And we're letting this cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. Now once it's been 2 to 3 minutes, just kind of judge how it's cooking, how crispy you want it. Then you're going to take and fold the half over on it and make your taco. Just like that. And then you're going to take a little bit of the consommé and you're going to put it on this side. There it is. Then we're going to turn it over. Do it for another 2 or 3 minutes. So it's golden brown on both sides. Again, we're using 2 tortillas. These are white corn tortillas. We're using 2 of them because when you put the cheese in, it helps hold it together so it doesn't break apart and split and that sort of thing. I think flour tortillas might hold together, but the corn tortillas, and we like the white corn tortillas, I think they give it more flavor for this and gives the true authentic flavor. Okay, after your 2 minutes are up, and I'm using a timer just so I can clarify the time. Your 2 minutes are up, 2 to 3 minutes, however you want to do it. Then you're going to take it and plate it and go again. Alright, we're going to finish frying these up. And we'll be back when we get them done. Okay, our birria tacos are done. We have some consommé. We heated it up a little bit. Made 8 of them. We do have a little meat left over here. But that'll be for tomorrow. So now we're going to eat these. And we'll be done. Birria tacos. These are going to be a little hot, but that's the way we like them. Okay, there you have it. Birria taco. Our meat, consommé, put together makes birria tacos. It's good stuff. Till next time, from my house to your house, from my kitchen to your kitchen, God bless.